Oh, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to Amateur Astronomers Incorporated, also known as AAI, for our weekly Fridays at Sperry presentations and at home. Now, AAI makes its home at William Miller Sperry Observatory on the campus of Union College in Cranford. Tonight, we are not able to be in person in the observatory as the college campus is closed for the holiday weekend, but we are giving this presentation virtually to everyone. We will be open next Friday, April the 14th. We open the doors at 7:30 and we do observing through our 2 telescopes that are located in the observatory, weather permitting. But we also give a presentation every Friday night at 8:30 p.m. in the observatory, but that's also presented on Facebook and YouTube. If you are interested in joining AAI, you can find us on our website, www.asterism.org, and you can click on Join AAI. You can also follow us on our Facebook page, which is Amateur Astronomers Incorporated, and on Instagram at amateur.astronomers.inc. Our presenter this evening is AAI member Kathy Vacarri. Kathy's a longtime member of AAI. She's also our sales and desk committee chair. And she is a qualified observer, meaning that she can operate the 24-inch telescope that's located in the observatory. She's very knowledgeable about binoculars, and she's given several presentations on how and instructions on how to use them to scout groups. Now, the title of her presentation this week is "What's Up? A Down-to-Earth Sky Guide." It's her monthly presentation that she gives on the first Friday of every month of what you can see up in the night sky for that month. And with Kathy, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Mary. Happy April, folks. Enjoy the weather, whatever kind of weather you're having. And we have a few nice space notes coming up before we discuss planets and constellations and getting started right away. By the way, this is sort of space news. Something that happened recently is our favorite lead guitarist from Queen, who is an astrophysicist, who has a doctorate, was made a knight. So there is a brand new King Charles II, and wielding the sword, and congratulations to our friend. And we, Brian May, you don't really know what to call him now, but I just decided it could be Sir Dr. Queen Man, consort or something British like that. But congratulations to the fellow. I'm Irish, but I'm very happy for him. We have some exciting news on the Artemis missions. We have 4 projected. It is part of our effort to get back to the moon, as so many of you already know, and maybe building baby steps, building capacity to go to a place like Mars. One of the things is we're going to have an Artemis base camp on the surface, and I saw this little photo or visual from NASA. I wanted to put that down. And also what they're calling the gateway in lunar orbit. Artemis 2, which will take off next year, has named its astronauts. And Artemis 1, as you may know, did not carry any human payload. Artemis 2 is not going to the moon, but it is making a few Circle 8s around the moon in order to find out more about how people will live in deep space. And from the left, you have Jeremy Hansen, who is Canadian, by the way, Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glova, Glover, I'm sorry, and Christina Koch. And as you can see, it's a more diverse astronaut group than before, having the first African American and the first woman on the team. So congratulations to them. The other three are all NASA, and Mr. Hansen is Canadian. Welcome. This is a very well, I hope you can see most of it, but it's about a 10 days flight for Artemis 2. And you can also, look at this on the NASA website. You see NASA up here, and then this is the logo for the Artemis missions. And apparently the crews create the logos. I don't believe we had Artemis 2 yet, even though they have this here. This is a sort of a familiar logo that they used for the Artemis 1, which did a very successful mission. Now for planet watching, we have till the mid-month the marvelous sight of Venus, which, as you all know, is the brightest thing in the sky except for the moon and the sun. The planet Jupiter comes close, but Venus is a good way up. By the time it gets dark, Venus and Jupiter had a wonderful little set of near and total conjunctions over the last month, which are not anymore because Venus is rising higher every night, and Jupiter, of course, since we had it for the last few months, is descending in the west as soon as we have dark. Mercury, for a short time, is going to be visible if you have a very good empty horizon. It's part of these memes that have been going around about 5 planets in order. They have been in order at one time or another for the past few months, actually. It's sort of waning now. We still do have in the general area Mars, and I'll show you later where that is. But Venus and Mars are really the ones to look for. But those who love Mercury, please pounce if you can. And Venus will be with us for a few months. So that mid-month note is for Mercury. Here we have, Venus is going to stay till August. Then it's going to go into the morning sky. As you know, Venus is either a morning before dawn or after sunset planet. So here's a good area to look at. There's Aldebaran from the constellation Taurus. Here's the Hyades and, of course, the Pleiades. So during April, Venus is going to be rising, and please enjoy. It's one of those, what is that up in the sky? Delightful things to look at. Mars is moving around in the constellation Gemini. And one of the things that is interesting, and I'll show you a little more when I show you the whole sky map for April. As you know, the 2 major stars, Castor and Pollux, are the only visible parts of Gemini, the constellation for the twins. And basically, they are usually drawn as stick figures. And all as we can see is their heads. And that's Gemini for us. Mars will have a distinctive reddish, I guess, flesh-colored look, being the red planet and everything. But just remember at the end, like Jupiter, we've had Mars and Jupiter also to watch. And every day, of course, when you look at constellations, they move a little farther to the west when darkness arrives. And pretty soon we're not going to have those set of constellations or the planets in them forever. So we still have Mars, and those who have very, very, very huge, or shall I say, very specific horizons in the west could catch Jupiter, but we're really transferring our attention to Mars and Venus. And I will show you with the full sky map that there are a lot of bright stars around Mars, and there are a lot of bright red stars around the red planet. So it could be a little confusing to find Mars, but never fear. For those who love following dwarf planets and famous asteroids, etc., Ceres, for example, is going to have the path in Leo, which I will show you later, is one of our directly overhead constellations for the early spring. And this will, I think this is from Astronomy Magazine. If anyone wants to go on their site and get a view of this, that's where you would get that. Saturn is actually, of course, gone from the evening skies. And it's rising around 5 a.m. for those of us who like to get up early. And it's about 10% above the horizon, 30 minutes before sunrise. The rings are slowly growing narrower. They're only 9 degrees to our line of sight. I wanted to do a little more on this, which I won't, but that kind of thing is interesting because, as you know, Saturn, depending on where it is and where we are in the solar system with both of our orbits around the sun, the rings give us a different view all the time. So we're going to continue to see Saturn in the morning sky, and I'm going to do a little bit on that next month. And this might be, they said, the best time to catch them because they're going to be thinning throughout the summer, which is an amazing change. Just for a little, April Fool's, haha. I figured I like this title from the news, from the Onion Press, my favorite satirical newspaper. So we always have our news in exclamation points, and everything happening everywhere all at once is always exciting. So there you have the moon. Moving on. One thing I wanted to bring up is there was a recent James Webb view of Uranus, and this is amazing. It's giving, actually, one of the features here, it's got 11 rings in the picture. It's actually got 13, and who knows what else we're going to find. But the only real pictures we ever had of Uranus really were Voyager and Keck. And we always knew that the planet had been knocked on its side. And it had rings, of course, like Saturn. But as with all the outer planets, the gas giants, the rings are more dust than ice and therefore not as reflective. But this is just fabulous. And it's got the blue or blue-green look. They used several filters to get this particular view here. I wanted, let me just see if yeah, okay. The last photos were from Voyager 2 in 1986. The The other thing is they were talking about the polar cap, very unique to Uranus. And apparently, remember, the planet's on its side. It appears when the pole enters direct sunlight in the summer and it vanishes in the fall. And the cool thing is, when I read polar cap, immediately I think of polar ice cap. Not necessarily so. It's more like a cloud cover. And apparently in this photo, they do see a little bit of ice here, but this is actually heading towards summer in Uranus. I wrote some notes down. As you know, it takes a long time to go around the sun, so it has very, very long seasons. And Uranus, in particular, has some of the strangest weather of planets. So it's got an 84-year orbit, and this is the North Pole, late spring. Okay, it'll take a few years to actually turn into summer. And actually, on the flip side of this photo, as it were, is the South Pole. So we're really looking at the North Pole. Fascinating new views, and Uranus is just a fascinating planet. So Google away. Here's another rather quick photo, not as much detail as they were going for, but this is again from the James Webb and showing some of the moons of Uranus. And it has a total of 27 moons as we speak. Who knows? That is something that changes a lot. But, you know, thanks for the James Webb. What a wonderful thing. Here is our spring constellation guide. This is what you could see at what I call prime time, between 7:30. It might get a little later before it truly gets dark, of course, as we are entering or heading for the summer. But we have done a lot of the winter constellations over here that are still, all of these are still around when we go out around 7:38, going on to 9 as well. This is actually Venus, and when you go out and look to the west, there's no mistaking Venus, because you know it is so bright and wonderful to look at. Again, you want to go out earlier in the evening, because when it appears, it continues to sink. It is above, sort of above where you see the constellation Taurus with Aldebaran, the eye of the bull. All right. Now, actually, even though it is sinking, it is still a very large, recognizable constellation. So you will see a lower and constantly getting lower Orion. And then this, as you see, the stick figure with the big heads, this is Gemini. This is where Mars is going to be. And as the month goes on, it's going to be heading towards Castor and Pollux. Again, the confusion is that you've got a red star here, a red star here. You know, you've got Betelgeuse, you've got, you know, Gemini, and actually good old Capella. We always say, don't forget about Capella. It's sort of part of the, what you might call, not a winter triangle, but a winter hexagon. But just be aware of these, because you will be able to tell that Mars is here and that this is Aldebaran, because remember, you take the belt of Orion, going up, you see Aldebaran. Going down, of course, this isn't red and not confusing, but that is the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. And then, oops. And then over here is Procyon. And over there this is Castor and Pollock and they're together in that part of the sky. So again, try to make out for yourself where Mars is. They say that planets don't twinkle as much as stars do. I don't know whether that is a really important thing to remember. But as I said, this is wonderful to just see Aldebaran, which is kind of on its own. It's the only star you can easily see in the whole constellation, although it's a gorgeous constellation in binoculars. Again, I have been using this month, I have been using the Belt of Orion to make sure I've got Aldebaran. And then again, this is sort of a reddish star and very large, Capella. It's not well known, but it's very important to know that that is up there when you're trying to figure out what's up in the sky. We're actually going to, we have talked about the first sign of spring, Leo, which is overhead, which is also the area of the sky where you look in to find a lot of galaxies. We've dealt with that. Briefly, this is Cancer. There is a feature there that is beautiful, and I'm going to bring it up later just because at one point the a half moon is going to be right near it. So anyone who has trouble finding the star cluster, which is here, I usually aim for halfway between Castor and Pollock of Gemini and the backward question mark of Leo, which they are bright stars and you can see it pretty easily. And then I try to locate what's called the beehive cluster. I'm just going to give you a little hint later on. But I found out some marvelous things about the Big Dipper and the entire constellation Ursa Major. And we're going to just center on that tonight. It's always in the sky, being something that is so close to the top of the celestial sphere that we usually can see the Big Dipper, and it changes its position. Sometimes it's pointing downwards, and sometimes up, and sometimes to the side. But there are a few new ideas about it that I wanted to mention and make it much more of an interesting constellation. Okay, asterism. Ursa Major is known for its asterism, the Big Dipper. And as we know, asterism is not a constellation. Ursa Major is the constellation, the Big Bear, that the Big Dipper appears in. And then, you know, shameless plug, our website is www.asterism.org. So you don't forget that. All right. Mythological bear. The Big Dipper, again, an asterism for Ursa Major, is a very recognizable and very, very ancient discovery by stargazers from time immemorial. And here are their names. And we're actually going to spend most of our time on Alcor and Mizar here. This is that wonderful double star that you can see in binoculars. There are times or places in the rest of the country where you can actually see it with the naked eye. It used to be people's test for how good their eyesight was. I'm not even going to try it here in the Northeast. There are many presentations or images, patterns, whatever, that have been used by various cultures. This is called the starry plow, and it happens to, well, be different from, let's say, the drinking gourd or the cup. This is actually very loved by those of Irish ancestry. there is a famous play by Sean O'Casey called The Plough and the Stars, and a lot of it refers to Ireland's fight for freedom. But that's a wonderful, wonderful asterism image. By the way, there is something about the Big Dipper. Late in the 1800s, an astronomer discovered that most of the stars in the Big Dipper, not all, but most, that they not only present a shape to us the way a lot of constellations present the shape. Let's say Orion has a very specific shape, and it's very easy to find in the sky. Many times, and it's always fun to talk about looking at a constellation from the side, how close these stars are not to each other. They're all over the place. It's just that the image that we get from where we are, forms our asterisms. Do they have anything to do with each other? Not necessarily, and maybe rarely, but apparently the Big Dipper, they really, it's kind of called the Big Dipper moving group, that they actually move in tandem. And it takes thousands of years, but it's just a marvelous thing to imagine. Here is a GIF of the Big Dipper over the years, over the centuries. And actually, it's everything but this star and this star that are part of this asterism, okay? Because these ones at the end go their own way. So it's just a fascinating thing in terms of dealing with the asterism Big Dipper itself. The other thing that I found fascinating and learned quite a bit recently is that the double stars, Alcor and Mizar, they were one of the first double stars, or the first double stars ever discovered. People around Galileo's time were always very interested in it. Only recently have we found out. All right, there's the double stars in the sky. It's one of the most famous ones, and it's also the first that were identified as binary, which means stars that have a specific relationship to each other and are in gravitational thrall to each other. Taking Mizar, it was the first binary star ever discovered using a spectroscope. And here I just thought it was only special when the other star, Alcor, was dealt with. In 2009, they decided also that Alcor is itself a binary, consisting of Alcor A and Alcor B. And they didn't think that the two were actually gravitationally bound, and now they realize that they were. So not only is Alcor and Mizar part of that that wonderful Big Dipper moving group, it's a little system all by itself, and ultimately it is a 6-star system. Mizar is a quadruple system, and the Alcor is a 2-star system. And apparently there was someone in Rochester, University of Rochester, who is well known for having discovered that Alcor is a star system. By the way, Mizar, let me see if I've got a thing here. No, I wanted to show that Mizar B and A, they both have B has a red dwarf, and Alcor, the smaller star of Alcor, is itself a red dwarf. And of course, one of the things that through centuries and millennia that these stars have been moving through space, we know that red dwarfs have a lifespan. They're not blazing hot, but they have extremely long lives, and they last for trillions of years. And one thing that still blows my mind is we know that there has never been a death of a red dwarf, because the universe is simply not that old yet. So that's something that I think of when I can't get to sleep. But anyway, apparently in Rochester, the people who were looking for the checking out Alcor, they happened to be, their mission was actually to look for exoplanets around the Alcor star, and instead they ended up discovering a star. So I just think that's a really cool story for astronomers. As I mentioned about Leo, the Ursa Major asterism is also the area of the sky where you can see a lot of galaxies. And I've tried to put examples here of these, and also where I can give the credit to some of our people. There's a whirlpool galaxy there. As you know, M this, M that is Charles Messier. We need numbers to identify all this stuff in a very huge universe and in our Milky Way that we know so far. And oops, there's the Owl Nebula there. Cigar Galaxy, which you saw over here. This is one of our folks, Helder. There you go. You can say why it got its name. Bode's Galaxy, this is our friend Tolga who did this. And actually just, I think last month, Wayne Zuhl did a Bode's Galaxy here. He's coming up with a lot of nice work. So I wanted to give Wayne his due there. And again, there's just a few cute pictures. But again, the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, of course, were known for helping people find their way around the sky and point true north. And the North Star, as you probably know, is Polaris here at the Little Dipper. And in order to find it, because we can see the Big Dipper in the sky, we can't see the Little Dipper. You'd need binoculars around here. Other places, people are more lucky and they can see it with the naked eye. But a lot of people feel that the North Star must be amazingly strong and bright, and that's one of the reasons why it was named that. But no, it's just the star around which the celestial sphere moves around, and you keep going around and around and you get all the constellations possible. But the way you find it is taking this edge of the cup, if you will, and pointing it to Polaris. So that's another reason, obviously, why the Big Dipper is very important. It is also what we call a circumpolar constellation, that is looking straight, as it were, over the top of this center point of the celestial sphere. These that are close, a lot of them we know. Cassiopeia is very, very well known. Here's Ursa Major, and here is obviously Ursa Minor in the in the center there, Perseus, etc. So pretty much you could see it any night of the year, because they usually are appearing. And just to let you know, I was talking before about Cancer, which is a very faint constellation. There is a wonderful sight to be seen there. And we've got the Beehive Cluster, which is this wonderful little cluster of stars. And it's delightful how it just appears in the middle of this nothing space. And it is, not that hard to find, but on April 27th, if you've wanted to catch it and you need a guidepost, we're going to have, a half-lit moon there on the 27th. That will be a delight. Did I say delight a few times? Okay. Meteor showers, the Lyrids, because as with all meteor showers, they take the name from the constellation direction that it seems that the radiants are coming from. And of course, meteor showers may involve comets, asteroids. They're basically within our solar system. So stars, obviously, are much farther away. Our sun is the only one that we really are close to. You're just looking in the direction of the constellations, which are much farther away than we are, and of course much farther away than the meteors are. But Vega, which because of Lyra, they're called Lyrids. Vega is the big star, the one you can definitely see, and when it comes around to be one of our season's constellations, it's one of the first stars that you see as soon as it gets dark. So the radiant is where these meteors are coming from. And a period of a lot of meteor showers is sometimes it's as long as a month. People talk about the peak, but you could really see them anytime from April 15th, which is coming up pretty soon, to the 29th. And the peak is actually the 21st. You stay up till the 22nd when they give these two dates. People are often wondering, is it the all night after the 21st, or is it 9 p.m. on the 22nd? No, this is when you're going to try to stay up and see, and the peak will be after midnight when these things are the strongest. There'll also be no moon during the peak times, which is very important for being able to focus and not have the sky washed out by the moon, which we love. It comes from comet Thatcher, and this is an idea of what it was doing in 1861, and it's going to return in 2278. But as you know, our Earth goes through at a certain time of a year through a trail that has been left by the comet. So that means when we're at this point going around the sun, we can know, like clockwork, that we are going to experience the meteor showers from that comet's last visit. And that is it. These are the people and websites and magazines that I depend on. I'm sorry I did not put Wayne Sewell's name in there. I will do so next month. I'll probably be showing that photo of his Bode's Galaxy. And I wish you all a wonderful holiday. I believe we've got Passover, Easter, and the end of Ramadan all converging at a small amount of time, which is really kind of cool. So in any event, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.
Thanks, Kathy. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? Anybody? If anybody does, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask her. Don't all yell at once.
I wanted to ask not myself a question, but throw one out there. I am sort of new to dealing with the Alcor and Mizar, and if anyone knows more or wants to explain more about binary systems, that would be great. But I was just totally thrown by the whole, finding out that it's not just a double star; it's a six-star system.
Well, Kathy, one thing that I noticed when you mentioned about Ramadan and Easter and Passover, I think I heard today that I think that happens only 3 times in a century or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the way they all converge at the same time. So, okay, if there's no questions, then I want to thank Kathy very much for giving this presentation. It's always informational, very interesting, educational, etc. I just want to remind everybody that you can join us every Friday night online or on Facebook or in person. Again, we will be back in person next Friday, April the 14th, and we should be in person for the next several weeks after that. Our presentation next week is Comet Tales Through History by AAI member Max Watsky. And just a reminder, our next monthly meeting, which occurs on the 3rd Friday of every month from September through May, the monthly meeting coming up will be on April 21st. That's 2 weeks from tonight. It'll be in person in the Roy Smith Theater on the campus of Union College. It is open to both members and the public. Our guest speaker will be Heather Prince from Princeton University. She's a graduate student at Princeton University. She will be presenting in person because she lives in the area. The title of her presentation is Illuminating the Dark Universe from the Atacama. And as a reminder too, if you'd like to join AAI, you can go to our website, which is www.asterism.org, and click on Join AAI, or you can contribute to us if you'd like. Also, a reminder for everybody, next weekend, April 15th and 16th, is the Northeast Astronomy Forum, NEAF. So if anybody wants to go up there to Rockland County in New York State, a whole lot of a schedule of events, of a lot of presenters, astronomy-related presenters and vendors there. It's a great weekend. If you can get away and get the chance to go, you can buy the tickets online. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight and wishing everyone clear skies.